Zepto, Dunzo, Blinkit, and Swiggy Instamart are all piloting late night deliveries. Welcome to Backstage with Millionaires. I'm Caleb, your host. And before we jump in, this video is brought to you by Benji. So Benji is a platform that helps you with all of your graphic design needs at a cheaper price than hiring a full-time graphic designer. And click on the link in the description to get 15% off your first month with Benji, and stick around until the end of the video to learn more. Okay, so these pilots are going to be happening in a couple of metro cities across India. I'm talking about Delhi, Bengaluru, Mumbai, Pune, Chennai, and Hyderabad. But I think more important than where these pilots are happening, we need to ask the question of why are they happening and why now? And I think an easy way of looking at this is from two different perspectives. One, the company's standpoint, and two, the consumer's standpoint. These are two sides of the same coin. So first, let's look at things from the company's standpoint. India is currently the fastest growing market in the world in terms of adopting instant grocery delivery, even surpassing China. And the majority of people here in India love the fact that they can get their groceries delivered to them within minutes. So that's the first point. The second point here is that an executive at Zepto said that they were seeing consistent growth in late night order volumes. And something similar was said by executives at Dunzo, Blinkit, and Swiggy Instamart too. This means that there's an increase in market size for these companies when catering to late night deliveries. Thirdly, it's been observed that while order values are small on most 10-minute or less deliveries, the volume of these orders tends to scale up when consumers are making impulsive, unplanned purchases. So there's actually a chance to clock in more revenue in this night delivery market. This means that whichever startup comes up as the market leader in this segment is going to be able to bring in more revenue from these nighttime deliveries. And that's why these pilots are being tested. It's a sort of competition between all of these companies. But why are late night orders increasing? Well, that's the other side of this coin, the customer standpoint. If you guys look at this report by the Times of India, you'll notice that there's a 57% increase in the number of people in India sleeping late. In fact, there's a chance that even you or somebody that you know sleeps late at night. But why is all of this relevant? Well, here's why. When people are awake late at night, be it for work, study, or maybe they're binging a TV show, a lot of them get hungry and crave snacks. And this is something that I personally am guilty of too. And this is where the ease of getting your snacks within minutes and all of these startups offering that as a service comes into play. Because knowing that I can get any snack that I want within 10 minutes or less causes me to make impulsive decisions. In other words, my impulsive decision making gives these startups an opportunity to make money. And that's what they're trying to do. Now, the next question that we need to ask here, of course, is this sustainable? Is this going to last in the long term? And I would lean towards answering yes to that question. I'm a Canadian, as many of you know, and in Canada, we've had 24/7 fast food for a really long time now, probably decades at this point. It's just expected that consumers should be able to get their food whenever they want. And so that's why 24/7 is an option and why it's so pervasive in Canada and also the United States, of course. With this 24/7 model, employees work something called a graveyard shift. That's basically a late night shift, and they get paid more for this too. And customers, of course, the ones that are staying up late, are happy. So I don't see why the same thing can't be implemented here in India and with delivery as an option too, especially because roads get pretty empty after midnight, so delivery speeds could be faster as well. All right, next up in the news, Byju has posted their financials for the financial year of 2021, and it's not looking good. They reported a loss of $576 million. That's more than $500 million in the financial year of 2021, which is up from their losses of just $29 million in the financial year of 2020. That's a massive increase of 1,880% in losses, or 19.8x. Rubbing salt in the wound is the company's total revenues, declining by 3.3% from $315 million to $305 million. So a quarter of these losses are exclusively because of White Hat Jr., a code learning platform that Byju acquired back in 2020, and White Hat Jr. reported a loss of $212 million all on their own. The other 3/4 of the losses can be attributed to aggressive hiring, marketing, acquisitions, and other miscellaneous expenses, which contributed to $376 million in losses. All right, next up, let's move into our bird's eye segment now, because at least 10 Indian startups have raised more than $1 million this week, with the total coming in at $143 million raised across India's entire startup ecosystem. So one EV startup in particular, Yulu, led the charge this week. They raised 57% of all the funds. That's $82 million. This is a Bengaluru-based electric mobility startup in the micro-mobility space. So they offer these little electric scooters. You don't need to have a license or a helmet to drive them. And you just pick them up, drive them around, and then you can park them at any of Yulu's designated Yulu spots. And with these funds, Yulu is planning on increasing their EV fleet to more than 1 lakh two-wheelers, along with over 500 battery charging and swapping stations in the next 12 months. Up next, we have deep tech startups raising 14% of all the funds this week. That's $21 million, being raised by companies like data analytics startup Sigmoid. They raised $12 million, and computer vision and AI startup Awairos at $7 million. Now, up next, we have food and beverage startup Akshayakalpa. They raised 10% of all the funds this week. That's $15 million. And Akshayakalpa is a Bengaluru-based organic dairy products manufacturer. And with these funds, they're going to be opening up more distribution channels, onboarding more retailers, and expanding into more cities. And then finally, we have one company in the construction space, Gurugram-based construction tech company, 91 square feet, and they raised 7% of the funds. That's $10 million. Now, this $143 million is considerably less than last week's total fundraise of $221 million, but that number is likely going to increase. So if you want to stay up to date on all of the funding news that's happening in India's startup ecosystem, then make sure to sign up for our newsletter. You can find a link to that in the description down below. All right, next up, just a couple of quick updates for you guys. Now, first of all, ONDC beta testing is going to be taking place from the end of September. And according to ONDC's CEO, that's likely going to be taking place in Bengaluru, at least to start off with. And hopefully, this is just my hope that they will continue to expand this beta testing across India to other metros in the country. We're just going to have to wait and see, though, whether or not that actually happens. And then also, Lido Learning has filed for bankruptcy. They owe a lot of different parties money at this point, and so they've decided to file for bankruptcy because it's basically the only option that they have left. All right, next up, I don't know how many of you guys noticed this, but our banner here at Backstage with Millionaires actually recently changed, and it looks incredible. So the company that actually designed this is called Bengaluru. They design custom logos and branding for your startup, or if you're working on a marketing campaign, they'll design ads for you. They also do websites and presentations in case you're pitching to VCs. These guys do it all. And yeah, you could scour hiring platforms or do some social media searching. You could even go on a freelancer website and try to find a designer there, but all of these options come with headaches. Haggling on price, late submissions, second or even third drafts when you're not satisfied with the first version that they send to you. Do you really want to spend your time and money dealing with all that? Of course not. So Bengaluru only hires the top 2% of designers. Project turnaround is also a guaranteed 3 or 4 days max for complex projects, and just 1 or 2 days for more simple projects. And when it comes to pricing, they take a subscription approach. So it's a fixed monthly price, which is way more affordable than relying on freelancers on a project-by-project basis or hiring an in-house team. And every monthly subscriber is protected by Bengaluru's 30-day money-back guarantee, as stated on their website, and that's a full refund too. So if Bengaluru seems interesting to you and you want to try them out, then make sure to click on the link in the description down below to get 15% off your first month with Bengaluru, with whatever plan you end up choosing. And thanks to Bengaluru for sponsoring this video and for our new YouTube banner as well. All right, next up, to thank you guys for sticking around until the end of the video, I have a special announcement. So if you can't already tell, we are now selling Backstage with Millionaires merch. So this hoodie that I'm wearing right now, as well as the Backstage with Millionaires t-shirt that I wear in all of our videos, and also a Backstage with Millionaires sweater as well. You can buy all of those on our merch store, and you can find a link to that in the description down below. All right, that is all the startup news that I have for you guys this week. I really hope you enjoyed the video and that you learned a lot from it. Big thanks now to all of our Backstage with Millionaires members, our unicorns, our decacorns, and our hectacorns. And of course, again, thank you to Bengaluru for sponsoring this video. All right, I will see you guys in the next one.